Hi everyone, it's Evangeline here at eTrailer, and today we'll be taking a look at our Hollywood Racks Destination 4 bike platform rack right here on our 2022 Chevrolet TrailBlazer. The Destination 4 is a family platform rack. I think that's just the best way to describe it because at an affordable price, you're able to carry 1, 2, 3, 4 bikes on a platform. So you can easily do the same with a hanging style bike rack, but I always prefer a platform just because you get a little bit more stability and it's easier to load and unload your bikes. So we are going to take a look at the Destination 4 bike rack in relation to the Chevrolet TrailBlazer. So if you have your friends, you have your family, they're all piled into your car and you all want to go for a bike ride, let's take a look if this is going to get the job done. This bike rack does not tilt away, unfortunately. So if you do want to access your hatch, you are going to have to take your bikes off, or at least the one closest to the hatch. So that's something to keep in mind. If you want to access your hatch with the bikes on, you may want to consider our other 4 bike platform racks like the Kuat Transfer V2 4 bike rack. But here, we'll just focus on the way our bike is mounted to this bike rack. So we have 3 mounting points. We have 2 wheel straps, so 1 strap on each wheel, and then we have this frame mount. So that frame mount is unique in its design in that we have a 360-degree rotation. So depending on your bike's frame, you can adjust this mount up, down, left, right, or even around. And when you want to take the bike off, you start at that wheel strap. So you press the lever on that strap, you pull up on that strap, and then what I like to do is just kind of lean it or tuck it to the side. That way it doesn't get tangled up in our spokes when we want to take our bike off. The next step is to remove the frame mount. So this can be tricky depending on the types of bikes, especially since your TrailBlazer doesn't have that much clearance to the closest bike. So you're gonna have to hold the bike with one hand or one arm and then press this lever and then push that strap out in order to release the bike from that frame mount. And once that is released, you can then lift the bike slightly up since you have a short mast, just up and over that mast, and then you're ready to go on a bike ride. And with the bike out of the way, we get to take a closer look at the bike rack itself as we put away the straps. With pretty much any bike rack you have, I highly recommend just having those straps cinched in place so that they're not flopping around as you drive around. As you can see, we have a pretty good strap here with a rubber cushion on the inside to protect your bike's wheel. And over here you have the cradles, or in our case here at eTrailer, we've started calling them the wings because of the way they're designed to accommodate for your different wheelbases. Now this wing or this cradle over here is going to have a maximum tire width, a capacity of 3 inches. So this has a weight capacity of 35 pounds per bike. If you have your extra heavy bikes, probably not going to be the best fit for you, especially if you have electric bikes. But for most of your regular bikes, 35 pounds is usually more than enough. Now, whenever you have anything on the hitch of your vehicle, there's going to be some length added to the back of it. So I'm going to take some measurements. I'm going to measure from the bumper of our TrailBlazer to the furthest point of the bike rack, which are these nice white reflectors, and it sits at 39 inches of length added. So that's something to keep in mind whenever you're backing your TrailBlazer into your garage or trying to park into a tight spot. You already have a pretty smaller SUV, so it's going to be helpful to know and remember that you have bikes as well as a bike rack behind you. Let's also talk about ground clearance. So ground clearance is going to be measured from the furthest point of your bike rack to the ground. It sits at about 21 3/4 inches. Compare that to closer to the shank. The shank sits down at only 9 3/4 inches from the ground. So whenever you're going up steep inclines like your driveways or your hills, your front will go up, your back will go down. Especially with a longer bike rack, you will want a bike rack with a shank rise like this. That way your bikes are higher up off the ground. One cool thing that I noticed with the TrailBlazer is even though this comes pretty close to our vehicle, since our hatch on this car is on the small side, look at this. Even with the mast up, we can open the hatch and we have plenty of clearance, allowing us to get into our trunk, grab our waters, our helmets, our coolers, our bags, without having to lower this mast or take the bike off. You will still have to take your bikes off, but at least you don't have to take your bike rack off. It may look kind of tricky at first, but it's very simple. So you just turn this knob just enough so that you have clearance to remove this anchor. The anchor is going to go to the side. That knob is going to tighten down so that you have all the clearance. And then you can fold this mast down pretty much wherever you want it to go. So I'm going to use this strap for the cradle, and I'm going to use that to secure our mast. And now that the mast is down, we can now remove the bolt over here. So we have a clip, so remove that clip, and then there's a bolt holding that in place. So you're just going to rotate this knob. There we go. And once that's out, you can just let it hang. It has a string holding it in place. Then you lift it up, it folds up, line up that hole right there, and then put that bolt back in. And then once that's tightened down, don't forget to use that clip to secure it. And with this up, this is going to be the compact, the portable position, the way you're going to store it in your garage. So we'll take some measurements to see the difference it now makes with it folded up. First is going to be closest point, and that looks like it's from our bumper to those front wheel or the frame mounts, and we have about 3.5 inches of clearance. Still plenty of clearance there. Length now added to the back of our vehicle is going to be from that exact same bumper to the furthest point, which is going to be down here, and that sits at 12 inches added. So big difference compared to when this is folded down. You'll definitely want it in this position when you're just planning on driving around town. You're not planning on taking your bikes out, and you don't want to take up too much space behind your vehicle. Notice how it does take up a fair amount of space behind your vehicle, but our rear window is completely free and visible, so no obstruction there. Now our taillights are right over here, kind of in line with almost the edge of your bike rack, so they're still going to be visible but slightly covered. So you'll still be safe on the road, they'll still see your lights, so that's going to be good still. Now, one big thing is that your backup camera sits right over here above your license plate. So both your license plate and your backup camera will be covered with this folded up. If that's going to be a big issue with you, you may want to just drive around with this bike rack folded down, but you still lose that visibility with bikes on there. That's just how it goes. Now this bike rack has a 2-inch shank that fits into our 2-inch hitch receiver here. You just pop it in and it includes an anti-rattle bolt and a lock. Now that lock is keyed alike to the cable lock that you get with this bike rack. So that way you just move the cable lock around your bikes into your hitch pin bolt and then lock it down. You get 2 keys with that to secure it. Now, what I recommend doing is using a 3/4 inch socket wrench or socket to tighten this down, just so much easier that way. To demonstrate how that anti-rattle bolt works, let's give it a little bit of a shake test. So as I shake our bike rack, is to simulate that road sway, road vibration, and movement. I'm really just moving the car and barely at that. That shows that is a really good secure fit between your hitch receiver and your bike rack. You're still gonna experience those bumps as you go over those bumps in the road and into those pits, but it's nice to know that you're not getting extra rattle from an improper fit.
Now we're going to go ahead and take it on our test course. First we'll start with the slaloms. This is going to show the side-to-side action. It's kind of going to mimic the movements that you'll see whenever you're driving down the road normally. Now we'll have the alternating speed bumps. This is going to be more so like the uneven roads and some of that uneven terrain you might be traveling on, and see how it holds up.
So my personal thoughts about this bike rack is if you're going for an affordable bike rack, but you still want the stability of a platform as well as a frame design or a frame mount that matches frames of different shapes and sizes, I would go with this one. This is a pretty good platform rack that gets the job done. Now, if you want other premium features like being able to tilt your bike rack away with the bikes on, which is pretty useful if you want to access your hatch, this would not be the option for you. I would recommend the Kuat Transfer V2 4 bike rack. That has a unique goalpost design that makes it easier to load the bikes up on there, and then you can tilt it away if you want to open the hatch. But if that's not going to be a big issue for you, if you just want a bike rack that gets your job done, does it well, has some nice features when it comes to versatility, you might be interested in the Hollywood Racks Destination 4-Bike Platform Rack. We took a look at it right here on our 2022 Chevrolet TrailBlazer.